Hello, everyone. My name is Meghan LeVota. I'm an ENFJ, and today I'm here with Crystal, who is an ENFP.
Hi. Yeah, it's me. Can you
Yeah,
hear me? Cool.
yes. So, no, this is not Synchronic Saturdays. This is just a random live stream chat. We wanted to talk with you guys. Synchronic Saturdays will be back soon. But wow, what a crazy time we're in, right?
Yeah. We've been video chatting so much when we usually just regular call. It's pretty cute.
Yeah, and it's like weird because Crystal and I don't live in the same town, but for whatever reason, I guess just since no, this is when I don't live in the same. Oh, hold on, this is weird. I just tried to like go find the link, and then I heard me talking, and it confused me. Sorry about that. Crystal and I don't live in the same town, but for whatever reason, now that there's this quarantine going on, it feels more normal to like video chat.
Yeah, I think we're just catching on to what's cool with the kids lately because were the kids really video chatting that much before?
I don't
Nope.
know. It's just sort of like I might as well talk to you or see you just as much as whoever else, my mom.
Yeah, if I see my boss more than you, that's a problem. I say during this quarantine time. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So I have a question for you. I don't know how much of this is just my family culture versus yours, but you and I both have an SFJ mom and sister, right?
Mhm.
Both of mine are ESFJ. They have been like just FaceTiming me without asking, or not that they need to ask, but I realize I like to schedule that. I like to know what.
So true. I'm like that.
They have just been kind of just FaceTiming me out of the blue whenever, and then they won't have anything to say. They'll just say, "Hi, just wanted to see your face."
Both of them?
Yeah, both of them.
Oh my god, even Maddie, dang.
Yeah, well, I wanted to know if you have gotten any FaceTimes.
I get them. No, I get calls from my dad, and then I also get Zoom links that don't work from my dad. So my dad's an ISFP, and he just started sending me like Zoom links that don't work
Any sort of
with no context. Like he's just like, join my Zoom with you, and I'm
oh,
just like,
so
oh, yeah. I'm just like, my mom though. Well, my mom texts me more like reminders. I mean, my mom has basically not changed her routine really with me. My sister texts me, like they don't really spontaneously FaceTime me because I think they figured out that I will not pick up and it will not work. And the more they do it, the more I'm going to spitefully not pick up. So,
Hey, Crystal, JC asked, "How long will we be streaming for?"
at least an hour, if not longer, basically to when we get tired, I guess.
Yeah, like, yeah.
Let's just cap it up.
That's what you need.
I went for like 2.5 hours last time with that ENFP live chat. So
we're cap it at 2.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, every time I'm about to enter a conversation, I assume it will last an hour. When no conversation
with you and me has ever lasted just an hour. We always have so much more.
Why? Like, time is not real.
Apparently not.
Why do I think an hour when it could have been 58 minutes? It could have been an hour and a minute.
Well,
I mean, for whatever reason in my mind, I think that it will be like exactly 60 minutes.
It reminds me when I moved to a different state and I had sales tax now, and in Oregon I didn't. So then I had to like budget like, oh, it says it's $3.85, but it's gonna be $4 or $5 or something. And then if I had spare change because it was like $4.60 or something, I'd be like, yes, spare change. So I just take those spare minutes and I'm just like, I'm gonna do something else now. But an hour is always best to overestimate, I guess.
Have you heard that they're calling Generation Z Zoomers now because they use Zoom?
Z for Zoomers. Okay, Zoomer. Yeah, I've heard about that. I'm like, that's not cute, but yeah.
I like that they're called Zoomers because they need a cool generation name. Like we have
they're Gen Z, Z for Zoom.
Yeah. Like we used to just be Gen Y and then we became millennials for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
so yeah. We want to talk about how we've dealt with this pandemic, because we talked about a lot about how our reactions have really differed as, you know, an ENFP and ENFJ.
Well, really, I think that I want to really make the focus of the video, not that I don't want to focus on the pandemic, But I really want to talk about how J's and P's respond differently to uncertainty, and we can use the pandemic like as an example too, because I guess I feel like I don't know, not to like totally go in there and correct you, but it's like I don't know what this says about my type, but part of me is just like I don't even have anything else to say about it.
I wasn't going to talk about like the pandemic as like a commentary on the world in general. It's more like this pandemic is the container in which you extract the meaning, which is uncertainty. So
You might have to
they're
ask me
synonymous.
you might have to you might even have to ask me some questions about how I'm dealing with it.
Okay, well, what I was thinking was I was going to talk about how I've dealt with it, but it'll just end up being super theoretical because it'll bridge
Yeah.
into maybe, and then you can just respond with how you see that contrasted with how you deal with things.
Yeah,
So,
let me just say real quick that whenever Crystal and I do our synchronic Saturdays, I almost always have in my mind some sort of beginning, middle, and end, or like things I want to touch on. I have notes and everything. And so
and I just open my mouth and try to be as charming as possible.
yeah, I like kind of guide the combo.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so I guess I just want to say that this convo isn't really going to be guided. We might go on tangents just and if you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and ask us. But I was just this was kind of inspired based off of a conversation where Crystal and I were realizing based on comparing our reactions how differently like NJs and NPs in particular handle the uncertainty with how you respond. So I figured there's just so much we can go off of from that. But
Yeah.
also, do you want me to interrupt you if there's a question to put on the screen, or
Like,
do you want me to like wait for like a pause?
Basically just interrupt me, and if I didn't want to be interrupted, I'll just tell you I'm gonna keep going and then you can add. So
So when you sorry guys for the like the logistics part, but are you looking at the screen when you talk? Like if I were to just put something on the screen, would that be cue enough for you? Okay, great.
great. Yeah.
Well, okay, well, we do have a question, so let's just go for it. So, in my last video, which I don't know if you've seen yet, so I could give you a recap, Crystal. I read from this book from Dario Nardi and Linda Behrens. It was the 16 type descriptions. They did this thing where they interviewed lots of people in different types, and then they wrote in like a narrative way what that type might say when they explain what it's like to be them. And something I read about ENFPs, it was that they sometimes don't speak up out of fear of losing control. Do you find that true, and how do you deal with that, Crystal?
I guess like the first thing I was asking or wondering because I saw that question was speak up about what? Because there's
Do you want me to go find the actual quote?
if it doesn't take too long, but I can also just try to talk. I can also try to hash out because I already know in my head what
Just
I do.
talk about it. I'll be our
because I do know what I speak up about, and I know what I don't speak up about. So basically, like I think it's when it's like something that like feels very vulnerable. I associate this with like speaking up about my fears in order to be comforted in an FETI way. So it's like if I don't think that this problem can be solved, I don't think there's any point in actually talking about how I feel about it because it's not actually going to make me feel any better. So I think like that's the main connotation I can see with not speaking up out of fear because I speak about other things, but I don't speak up
I'll
about.
just read this quote again,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It says, one way to tick me off is to either do something really unethical or question my integrity. I get very annoyed when people jump at me for not doing things their way, but I often won't defend myself because I fear losing control. I'd rather be in control when I talk to them about the situation. They don't know what effect they're having on me, but it tears me up inside.
I guess like this reminds me of when someone questions why I did something and I don't really explain my logical introverted process. So it's like basically like it reminds me of like remember that like very frequently used anecdote of like the time in college where I was accused of talking shit on someone by a professor when I wasn't, and I acted really
Oh,
guilty. I think that's maybe
yes.
an example of that, because, and the loss of control in that sense would be, what am I going to do if no one believes me, even if I
Yeah, was
speak
that
up?
like an interview?
Yeah, it was like kind of like it was like an interview for the Dallas Morning News, and like before that, this other ENFP was talking really loudly about how the guy's voice was funny, and they thought it was me instead of her, which was fucking annoying. But like, basically, I would associate this with whenever I don't think me speaking up is going to change a situation and it's going to make me feel the reality that that situation is out of my control, I don't say anything. So like, for example, I feel like it's
Mm.
pointless to complain about like how we're shut indoors. I literally, even if I feel bad about that, I genuinely don't say anything, because why would I say something and just add to what everyone already knows is true? And it would just make me feel more out of control if I'm impacting the fact that everyone already feels this way. So why would I even acknowledge that I also feel that way? Because of course I do. Like, it's very noticeably obvious. So that's, I guess, my
I think
rationale
that
for
kind of
why.
has to do with not just FI, but NE. I'm
Mhm.
seeing Sarah's comments, who is an ISFP. Wow, really, Nate? I don't do that. Nate said, like, by not speaking up, we won't disrupt the time space continuum. We're like, I don't know if you relate, Sarah, as an ISFP, but when this happened to Crystal, when she was wrongly accused of something she didn't say, and you crumbled, or you like just kind of got mute, or like you didn't say anything. If I was wrongly accused of something, I would just be like, I didn't say that. What do you want me to do? Like, I would be very, like, I think like with SE, maybe it's just like, hey, like I know they don't have any facts to back it up because it didn't happen.
Yeah, see, I don't know like what is, I guess it's like perceived sense of control. So what Nate was saying about conceptual sense, like conceptually, I didn't think I had any control, when like you could also argue that they didn't like actually have any power to do anything because there wasn't anything provable. But I think like in my head though, because I feel like it's my word against reality, which no one can actually observe and go back in time to look at the video. Like on the other hand, if there was like a video of that girl talking shit, not me, I would have been like, fuck you, go look at the video. But if it's like, oh, there's literally no way for this person to believe me except on principle, then why would I do anything? And I guess to tie that to other situations of uncertainty, it's like, there's nothing that I can perceive that anyone can do that would validate my words or fear or make anyone want to respond. Like, why would they respond?
I
Then it would
guess
have to be of their own
if
volition.
there's no SE to prove what you if you can't, if there wasn't a video of it, then the SE of you being confused and pissed off would be the proof, if that makes sense. I don't know if you relate. So
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess I don't.
INFJ said I would have also said something. I would have trusted the fact that a person who looked confused and shocked and was defending themselves looks a lot different than a person who
Hmm.
is guilty.
See, I don't put stock in that kind of thing with the SE. Like, I don't think my reaction is something that people would take into account or that would impact the reality of the situation. Like, I would
Mhm.
not think that acting defensive or confused would actually make someone think any differently, because I would have thought their reality in their head is already fixed. So I can't do anything to change that, essentially, is
That's
what I
kind of
feel.
related to what Trevor says right here. If FI has been shut down, then their weak TI loses the motivation to advocate for their side.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's very
And I think that in this case, I think it's a little different because I have NE, so I don't know if Sarah resonates with that in a different way, but I do feel like if I've been accused of lying before, or seen others accused of lying, then it genuinely does make me lose motivation. And it doesn't even matter if I myself have been accused or have had that happen to me, it will just make me shut down regardless.
Okay, cool.
It's actually
So
funny because I was actually thinking about like a recent situation this fall where basically someone was not treating my feelings for them as reality, and I didn't
that's
feel
what
like
I thought of. That was the
I
first thing I thought of whenever I read that quote.
yeah, like I wasn't, and then I basically shut down and got mute. Like, I was like completely frozen, completely triggered. It's actually in line with what Trevor said too, where I'd been shut down too many times romantically. Like, it's kind of like I didn't feel like I had any right to change the reality that was already in their heads. And you can tie that to me thinking everyone has SI, where his SI is already convicted that, oh, like nothing exists here and nothing you can protest will change my perception that nothing exists here or something. So I
I
guess
think
that's also that.
So Ashley here is an ENFJ and says, I think depending on the severity of the punishment would determine if I speak up. And I relate to that because I think FE is figuring out like what is the best action in order to get like this sort of result of me being okay. Like if it's not worth it, then why would you speak up? So like I think it's just kind of just shows a completely different way of looking at it. But anyway, do you want to just go into talking about how you've been dealing with the whole quarantine thing?
Yeah, it's actually funny because I have a lot of thoughts on how I've been dealing with it, and the theme is how I deal with uncertainty. So, right before we actually had to go into the quarantine, when it was just a rumor that we would have to be shut inside, I had just so many panic attacks. Like, I was just thinking about, like, what if we don't have any water? What if we don't have, like, electricity? What if we can't use the internet? Like, oh my God, like, these basics that I depend on, what if they no longer cease to exist? And because there was no concrete, like, the reality of actually being shut in hadn't happened yet, there were absolutely no boundaries or constraints to what my imagination could do. And it was like literally like trying to like let like a very nebulous like fear just swim around in my brain all day. But the minute we actually had to stay indoors, and I could see that despite the fact that we could stay indoors, like it's like I could when I saw the certainty of that reality, I calmed down completely and just snapped into adjusting. Like it was like, oh, I at least still have internet. I at least still have mail. I at least still can go to the grocery store. I can't do these other things. Oh well. Like I had something to focus on that was concrete, that was in my control. But before that thing happened, I had absolutely no way of feeling my way through the situation. So it was like very scary in that sense. And on the other hand, I felt like a lot of the NFJs who I surround myself with were a little more like chill. And now that the reality has happened, they're like kind of getting more depressed or a little stir crazy. And I, on the other hand, have completely just adjusted to this being my new reality. But before it actually set in, I was completely at a loss. So yeah.
Something I'm picking up though about that too is it kind of goes along with the idea that as an EP type, since your inferior function is introverted perceiving, you are kind of not very capable of anticipating the next reality. So before it set, you had all these fears come up of how bad it could
yeah,
get.
anticipate reality. That's what I try to do. Yes.
Where I think that for me, well, I've never really reacted like that. But if anything, I kind of didn't know it would get that serious in the sense of like I feel like I just have glided into it and now I'm here. Like I don't even really know how to explain it. But like I remember when you first started freaking out about it, I was kind of like I can't relate. Like, oh, we'll get through it or I honestly though, I was just sort of like, yep. We're all having to look underneath the surface. We're all like taking a look at the man behind the curtain. We're all kind of diving into our shadows, or like
yeah.
what a weird metaphor. Like I guess in a way I'm unfazed by it, yet I also didn't expect it to be as bad as it is. But also I did not expect it either. I don't really like the best way I can describe it is that I just have glided into it, which I want to say glide in the sense that one of the reasons why I'm even afraid to talk about this is because it feels just so privileged of us, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's okay that like, I mean, I still have a job, but I don't know, this is like pretty FE of me, but I think even just being guilty for having a job.
Yeah, definitely. I
And
feel like
trying to not feel guilty and feel grateful instead.
that makes sense. I feel like to me, once I know just how bad it's going to get, nothing quote unquote really surprises me. So like
But we don't know that though, still.
I know, but I'm just saying that I'm in the mode of nothing really surprises me is my bottom line. And like,
Wait a minute. But that's, I think, always my bottom line.
Yeah. So it's like no
I haven't
matter
been surprised by things in a while. Wait, so were you saying that you were surprised at first or something?
how do I say this? So it's never the outer reality that surprises me, but it's my inner reality that I've been able to adjust. So I guess my way of being able to deal with this is that I finally gotten the skills that I was craving being able to work on even before this pandemic. So I guess it is a little privileged that like I'm close to almost enjoying the change it's brought to my inner world. Because I wouldn't say that literally that means that this pandemic is therefore objectively enjoyable, because that's not true. But relative to how I've been living my life until now, I've actually gotten to fix all of the problems that I saw with how I was conducting my day to day and conducting my ability to have self respect until now. So, like, for me, like, I feel like my ability to handle whatever comes, I'm not going to be as surprised or triggered by, because my inner reality has finally stabilized as a result of having to be indoors. And that is just like an achievement relative to me. It has nothing to do with other people, because other people have other trials and tribulations that they're going through that I cannot comment on. But I guess I could say that like I feel prepped to deal with a certain uncertainty because my inner world has stabilized. And when that stabilizes, I feel like I can tackle like virtually anything.
Mhm.
So,
So,
like,
are you seeing this comment from Trevor? Having conscious SI makes SI and NP reactive to the physical circumstance, with SE being more submissive to the physical. I kind of relate in the sense that I don't get very easily rattled by a sensory change. And not to mention, I've already been working on my master's program online. I've been doing online school, and as of December, I got a remote job.
mhm.
So, really, not much changed for me, but I want to just shout out to this ENFJ who says, I did not panic. I feel like I adjusted quickly, but I was more concerned about my family and friends. I 100% feel you. I've been feeling guilty of my privilege. That's exactly how I've been, especially since my sister works in hospitality management and was furloughed by Marriott. Uh,
Mhm.
but she has a job now, so that's good. A lot of
Oh, that's
people,
great. I didn't know that.
yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people had that. Yeah, is working at like as like a leasing agent, like at her apartment.
Mhm.
Like she like literally, which actually I want to highlight this is that my sister's an ESFJ, and I think that what she did is exactly how FE and SI solves problems is. I mean, as soon as she lost her job, she called her landlord and let them know that she lost her job and that she's looking for something, and asked if they were doing anything to help. And she promised that she would pay it as soon as she could. And then that's when they said, "Oh, actually, we're hiring." And
Oh,
that's how she found the job.
that's
And
great.
I think that's actually a pretty good example of FE, where FI might just, as soon as they lost their job, maybe want to process it. I don't know, but like she asked, she wasn't expecting anything, but she, extroverted the emotion. She made it clear she
Mhm.
wanted to pay. I mean,
Do
and then
do you
that's
think
how
an
you
ENF
find
do you
those
think it
opportunities.
do you think an ENFJ would have done that though? Because I don't think an ENFJ would have necessarily.
Um, no, I wouldn't have not done that, but my first move probably would have been applying to other jobs. And then I guess if it's
Nah.
closer to rent, I wouldn't have told them as soon as I lost my job. I think she was maybe trying to be proactive in that sense so that they trusted
Mhm.
her even more.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because she has NE like me, so I would have been like, oh, like let them know earlier on in case they can help in some way and forgive me or something. Like maybe I don't know how an INFP would act, but for me, my NE would have been trying to plot my way to like take care of my finances before I went and got a new job, because
I
I would have
wonder
been
though
like,
if my sister would have saw in an SI way that really what she needs, the relationship she needs to build is with her landlord.
oh,
Is
I
like,
wouldn't have thought of it as a relationship building, but I would have thought of this needs to be taken care of because this is actually gonna be what I anticipate will be the obstacle if I don't get a job in time. So I would have also used
mm,
SI and NE to perceive that, but I wouldn't have judged it with FE the way she did about like building that relationship. I would have been like, I need to know this information so I can deal with this reality as soon as possible and figure out if they're
yeah.
gonna make me, because like if they can like forgive me for a second right away, I would have been able to apply to jobs with less anxiety. But if they were like, no, we're gonna fuck you, I would have been like, okay, great.
Oh, okay, that makes
I would have wanted to know, in a sense, what I need to worry about in what order, and so I would have tried to like figure out the leaps and bounds of all of my ducks first.
Yeah, I would not have done that. I just want to say though, to Nate's comment, I'm not too sure about being reactive to physical circumstances because I could easily detach from reality most of the time. For those of you who don't know, Nate's an ENFP. I see what you mean, but what I think here is that it's not even that SI has to be more reactive, but I think that SI will notice a shift in the sensory a lot more.
Yeah, it's not like we necessarily freak out, but we do react and respond to physical circumstances more because our internal reality gets disrupted, I think. Because
Like,
even detaching from reality to me is actually like an unconscious choice of being reactive in a sense.
like I feel like so for example, I've had this remote job since December. And now it's even harder to even go anywhere. And I've noticed I gained a little bit of weight. I'm just sort of like unhappy in general with I just haven't been exercising at all. And I've never really cared about exercising. I think it was because I was bad at sports as a kid. And so I didn't really ever try. I thought it wasn't for me. But that's one of those things where like it's taken me months to get to this point where I'm like, oh wow, my body's mad at me for sitting around and working from home since December. Like but I wonder if an SI user would have noticed a shift a lot sooner. Whereas like for me, the shift is that my back is freaking killing me and it hurts more when I bend down to grab something, or like I could just tell I feel more out of shape than usual. But it's like I don't notice the gradual
I
change.
feel like, yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite, where like sometimes when I cough, I can immediately tell if I'm actually about to be sick or if it's like because there
Oh,
was
I
dust
never
in
know
the
that.
air. Yeah, so like for me, I've been able to like not. I've only been maybe like majorly sick like maybe 3 times in my entire life. In general, like I've never had to go to the clinic for a checkup after being sick, except for once in fourth grade. Yeah, I guess I do notice like changes in my body. Like whenever I feel kind of feverish, I'll check in immediately and be like, did I get enough sleep last night? And if it was less than 5 hours, I can be like, okay, that's why. And also on the flip side, if I know if I get less than 5 hours, I'm gonna feel feverish. So if I
I don't
don't,
even
I'll be
remember things like that. So
because
you're like actively tracking all these things.
yeah, I guess it is like it's like an unconscious
They're more
tracker.
passively tracking. So yeah, KJ says that that example of being reactive, probably more likely for higher SI users. It's been difficult for him as an ISFJ, like the reacting to the new. And then speaking of that, Angela says that her SIFE mom was in full panic the last 3 weeks and it's been hard to be around her. I completely understand that, especially as a fellow FE user, since she's an ENFJ too. But like being around the mood of anxiety, especially when I'm trying so hard to not feel anxious and also maybe make them feel better, is so difficult.
Yeah, my friend Kat also is an ENFJ with an SFJ mom and similar dynamic, funny. Yeah, like I think there's also a comment earlier, Megan, about
Mhm.
someone asking about how do ENFJs and ENFPs react to anger. It was right before
Mhm.
that panic mode question, both internal and external. Do you see it? It's from Breathe Easy.
Okay. Yes. Let's talk about it. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. I don't actually know necessarily how to tie that to type because I think Enneagram also influences this, but I can speak to my experience as an ENFP.
Mhm.
I don't really get angry super easily, and if I am angry, normally like maybe only one or two people actually know about it, and Megan's usually one of them. Um, I feel like anger is like I feel like, and I've recently pieced together that the reason I don't get angry very easily is because I catch it the moment I could see myself going down the path of being angry. So it's kind of like the minute the sensation of something happening to me that is gonna make me angry. I catch it when it's at like I'm 5% possibly about to be angry. So then I try to take a moment to either step back from the situation, compose myself in some way, figure out if it's actually my problem or like theirs I need to communicate. I always try to like reflect for a second. Usually if I'm reacting to anger and I actually get to the point where I'm angry, I won't be surprised because I'll see it building, but usually the person or the thing happening to me isn't stopping. So I can see the, like just it building and I'm like, ah, shit, it's like out of control, but oh well, like, and so I guess I do my best to like actually modulate my inner reactions first. And so they very rarely show externally. I guess like people might see me become extremely irritated, but then it will ebb and then flow and then subside very quickly. So I think like actually times I've screamed at people in my life, it's only been like maybe 2 people in my whole life. So yeah, but that's
do
how I am.
do I hate to ask this. How do I react to anger, Crystal? I feel like you literally could do a better job explaining it than me.
I feel like you kind of get triggered and your TI just gets itself into a hole. And if someone keeps kind of poking at you, you'll like fly off the handle. But I don't think you get angry necessarily very easy either, unless it's like, I mean, it's like similar where.
Yeah, and I think when I am angry, I really don't want to impact the people around me.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you get angry, it's never like truly like that surprising to me, at least, because I'll see the buildup, but then keep doing the wrong thing on accident. I mean, like, I think this is so hard to generalize because everyone's so different with anger in general.
I think for me, well, actually, what comes to mind too is just in astrology, I'm a Leo sun with an Aries moon. I think that me being an Aries moon almost has more to do with how I react to anger than being an ENFJ in the sense that I think that a certain amount of anger could be healthy. Nate, if you're listening, I would be curious if you could speak more to this. But doesn't the Enneagram of like what your gut the gut type is and your tri type have more to do with it? Because I'm a 1 fix and I'm a 2-7-1, wouldn't that mean that I react to anger with resentment? I'm not that keen on remembering all the exact things with Enneagram. So Nate, if you want to tell me. But anyway, I think, and yeah, Sarah says she's Aries moon. I just sort of see this as my Aries moon side, but I don't really know. Is that I feel like a certain level of anger is like healthy because it gets you to not want to be in that situation. And I like that in the sense that I think it's okay to. Oh, you're off at 6. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. But I feel like I used to have a really unhealthy relationship with anger and I still do, but it's like one that like most people don't ever get to see me like tangle with, I think, because like I've come to the conclusion that I do repress a lot of my anger. And I think of anger as like something that's very FE when you actually like explode and you raise your voice at people. I really don't tend to do that except with like 2 family members. And oh wait, not even I was like family members plus Megan. I was thinking of like you and my mom, but I guess you're family to me now. How cute. I really don't raise my voice unless it's with other like specifically FJs who I'm close to. But I feel like whenever I get triggered or upset or frustrated, I tend to like not open up about it. I tend to just like explain it away as like that's just life, like deal with it. And so I think I haven't been good at like validating that sometimes it's okay to be like extremely affected by other people or other things in my environment.
I think the only time I feel comfortable expressing anger is if I've already tried establishing the bond. And like, so Nate says right here, 1s internalize but are always angry. 8s express and move on. 9s don't often acknowledge. So I think like the 1 thing is real for me in the sense that like I try and solve it, but like, okay, I only feel comfortable expressing the anger if I feel like the other person is crossing my boundaries and not even listening to any of my emotions, anything I'm saying. They just are at the point where they just want to win or they want to make me feel bad. And I can tell when that is. Sometimes that's an intense thing, and sometimes it's even just a small thing. Sometimes it's even just someone wanting to get a leg up on me in a social media comment, where it's just sort of like, you know, that they're saying that to try and make you look stupid, and you can tell that they aren't even listening. They really just want to like win. And I think that whenever someone's like trying to win against me, that's whenever I will angrily enforce the boundary. I don't ever really express anger as an attack.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I'm the opposite, where anger is either an attack for me or it's nothing. Like, I guess that's how I personally would say I deal with it, because my FI can get really reactive to that. Like, if someone's literally like trying to get a one up on me, I find some way to like be very cold but poke at them, so I don't necessarily care about looking stupid so much as them looking like a bad person is what I'm trying to paint them as. And I don't know.
so I feel like I really want to make sure we get back on this idea of how we deal with uncertainty. And sorry, we haven't gone to it yet, but I guess what I was realizing with that is that I realized that NJs and really all Js to some extent, whenever something happens that they weren't expecting, we tend to kind of double down on what we already anticipated at times. And this is something I've been noticing. Like, it doesn't have to be that way, but I wanted to share a couple anecdotes, which I already told you, Crystal, but there's this INTJ I know that was planning this whole thing where she was going to be hosting all these in-person workshops, and she was going to be planning all these events this year. And whenever things change, as opposed to like pivoting and making the most of it, which it seems like what you've done is try and make the most of situations and see the good in them in a way. And EPs in particular are able to be adaptable with those things a lot more. Where like this INTJ I think was thinking like she's like, I'm just thinking positive. I know that what I anticipated is still going to happen somehow in some way, shape, or form, which is fine. Like, maybe she's right. I don't know. But I was thinking about how this could be sort of my NI and SE being in the middle of the stack, or maybe some balance there. But what I've done is, if I don't know what is going to happen, I take in the new information and I have to readjust what my vision is. And so I've realized that over the past few weeks, as like reality has literally been changing, I needed to readjust like what my vision was. I needed that time to process like my NI of like, where am I going? Because I didn't know that this was going to happen in the exact way. So what matters to me, and where am I going, and how can I use this as an opportunity to shift my priorities completely? Like, what else can I let go of that I realize doesn't matter that much to me? You know?
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I feel like I always like make the most of a situation, because like I guess like whenever I am in uncertainty, I'm able to like kind of see what hasn't changed, what we're not, what like in this pandemic, it's like, what can I still salvage from the previous reality? Like, and until I know the new one, I can't figure out what the common threads of this new one are, so I have nothing to connect things to. So I think the reason I'm able to do that is because my perception is very rooted by everything I've ever known about reality, and I can pull out the common threads and still see the remainders. So I basically slice apart realities and look at their moving parts and try and put them in the same categories, is how I guess I can ebb and flow, because I can take in a lot of information and organize it very quickly and figure out from there how to respond. But if I can't next my reality and figure out what that is, then the threads go nowhere. Like, there is no reality until there's reality for me.
Yeah, and Pukoki said I literally had to make a 180 and as an INFJ, and I think that NI can be extremely adaptable. Well, I mean, like any J can be adaptable, but what has to happen is that their introverted perceiving has to be on board. Like, I'll make the 180. I need to. I can't just like. It seems like for you, like P's with either SE or NE, you can just sort of surf on top of a new reality. Where I think for me, it's like, all right, pause. Everything I thought before, I need to readjust. It's like everything I thought before, I need to rethink and be like, is this still applicable? Yes or no? Every single thing. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm never pausing as I'm adjusting, but it's like only through like continuing to play it out and deal with it can I then adjust. Because making a plan before that, I'm just like, nah, I'm just gonna like bang and like see how the new life goes, like take one step at a time or something. And I guess it's like the moment this like staying indoors thing started, I was just like, okay, well, I'm not even gonna bother dwelling on how much I'm gonna miss like going outside because we can't stay like this forever, is what I assume. So to me, I'm like, I'm just gonna shelve that now and like figure out a way to like really work on and see the opportunity basically. Like to me, I was like, oh, hey, like I diagnosed previously that my biggest like obstacle to doing this one thing I wanted to accomplish, which was cooking more, was that there were always restaurants open for me to order from. But the minute that this happened, I'm like, okay, the restaurants are closed now, which like is bad for my habits, but really good for me to be more disciplined because now I have no choice but to stay home. And if I'm going to be bored all day, I might as well learn to cook and make the most of it. So I haven't watched any TV or really even chilled. I've just been like taking opportunity because I have no other options but to learn to cook. Like I guess I could do takeout, but like to me, I'm like, no, like I'm never gonna have this chance again. And I've been wanting to like get
it's
this
more like
skill my whole
you're
life.
using the opportunity for something that you already were wanting to do.
Yeah, because it was already haunting me every time I went outside and spent money that I was not cooking and I was losing self-respect for myself.
I think that, it's been talked about before in like books about setting habits, that it's easier to set a habit if it is accompanied with a change. So
Mhm.
I wonder if it's more likely
I
for,
actually haven't heard that in a while, but that's
well,
so true.
I wonder if it's more likely for P's to understand that and kind of use that. Like when
Hmm.
change happens, do you find yourself wanting to change more things?
I'm like,
Or
yes, yes,
double
more,
down?
more,
Yeah.
more. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do double down more. I'm like, if it's already changing, then I might as well change even more. Like to me, I was like, if
Mm,
I'm gonna change, I'm gonna change all the way. Like this is the
mm,
perfect time
mhm,
for me to, and I guess like to me, because it was like it's nice to actually not have any more distractions to the literal outside world.
mhm,
It's like if I have to stay in all day, I actually feel like I haven't necessarily been self-reflecting more, but more so I've been able to put my self-reflections into reality, like into actually seeing them play out. Like I have time to actually learn all these languages I've wanted to learn, and I've had time to cook, and I've had time to actually like launch certain things like making more YouTube videos or like writing more or like, organizing myself and getting more jobs and doing more tarot readings. So I actually just like completely like I also did a 180, but like in towards the direction I'd been wanting to go in, but felt clogged down by the distractions of like always trying to feel better by like going outside, and I guess having FOMO that like everyone is doing something cooler than me, but right now everyone's all equal and all stuck indoors, so I have nothing to compare myself to. I feel like I feel so superficial saying it that way, that like I had
yeah.
to be literally shut in my house in order to like make a change, but it's
Well,
benefiting me.
yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I think my FE is just like I feel bad for all the people that are not in your shoes. I mean, I was just a coworker of mine lives in Wisconsin and was talking about how they had to vote yesterday.
Mhm.
And it was like this really contentious election. They like voted off they like voted for some Supreme Court or something that wants to get rid of Planned Parenthood. That may or may not be true. You guys can look that up because I can't really remember what she said, but still, like people having to vote yesterday, it seems insane to me with no option to vote remotely. And I guess I'm just thinking about all of the people that are going to be affected by, all of these implications. And it is almost hard for me to even listen to any sort of superficial problem right now. I'm not trying to say that about like you or like that your problems are superficial. But I think in general, I have found myself unable to even, which in a way is kind of good. I won't even entertain any of my like little problems. And
What's an example of a little
given
problem?
me a perspective of like, oh no, like I told myself I was going to do yoga every day this week and I only did it 3 days. Oh no, I suck, or something like what I might be thinking.
So it's like this puts this in perspective that like that stuff
Yeah.
isn't worth freaking out about.
Yeah, and I feel in a weird way like my FE has been, well, for years I've been thinking, hey, the way this society works is not working. Nobody's happy. Oh my goodness, why is this a thing? That now that everybody is thinking that, it kind of makes me be like, now you guys see it. Now you guys see that all of this is an illusion that we need to crack open and change now because it was never working for us. Like, people can see now that well-off people are hanging out in their nice homes. Middle-class people are struggling to find meaning in their job if they still have one. And then we have grocery workers and like service workers. And then I don't mean to forget healthcare workers as well. Obviously, they're doing a lot. But then we have like the poorest among us are literally like holding us up. Like we would not survive without like there were like Amazon workers that went on strike that were like fired like in New York. It's just, for me, it's like I've always like, I don't know. It's just like I've been so ready for change that I know like logistically that in order for change to happen, there needs to be like a tipping point. And so for that, I'm like, okay, it's here. It's not even like I'm grateful for that because I'm not, because that would be like insensitive to the people that are being impacted by it. But like, it's also like, okay, change literally can't happen without tipping points sometimes. And so I'm just like, okay, I'm grateful that I, am all right. I kind of like, even like with, not to get too political here, but just like with Bernie dropping out today, like I was just kind of laughing, even just thinking about how absolutely insane the next few months are going to be, like in the news, in the sense, I don't even know if I can handle it. I don't even know if I want to know. I'm sort of just like, wake me up when this is over. Like,
yeah,
I cannot, like, I don't know. Part of me is just like, let me know when everyone gets in their formation. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
I feel like I'm trying to like get into a position where I feel really aligned and in the right spot, and that's where everyone is having to go.
I really do see it that way too. I feel like it's funny because it's like now as I'm listening to you talk, I'm thinking about the word uncertainty, and I'm just like, uncertainty, at least to me, feels like so relative because like you could say that the certainty that you always had is that the system needs to change and things like that. So right now you're dealing with maybe some physical uncertainty as to like, oh, when can I like, go to my favorite bar again? But in a sense,
honestly,
there
none
is
of that
certainty.
bothers me at all.
Yeah, it's like, but there is certainty now in that everyone can see the same picture I've been seeing. So in a weird, twisted way, it's at least like, oh, this problem is real to everyone now, and that is not uncertain.
It's
so that's
real,
how I see
but
it.
also like I never doubted it was real. It's almost like I feel like I can see what is about to happen in a way where we used to have more of a social safety net in the US. We kept getting rid of it. Like we got rid of the pandemic people that or like the committee that was preparing for that. we just kept getting rid of any sort of safety net. And then now something happens and it's like, oh shit, we got rid of that.
This reminds me of like when the Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats. In a way, like healthcare and like all these logistical problems our system had to keep its citizens safe. That's all failing right now, in a sense, too.
I mean, it's just like this is the exact reason why I've always been in support of basic social safety net programs. Like, and I don't, again, I'm trying not to get too political because I guess I don't want to get into the logistics of it, not because I'm afraid to mention it or afraid to stand up for things, but I want to make sure that this is valuable to everyone. But I mean, that's, I guess, kind of where I am. I think as an NJ, it can feel like I've been screaming, giving warnings, and now it's like, it's too late. Like, people just don't listen to like the NI warnings that people try and give. You know?
I agree with that because I've been doing so many tarot readings and just thinking about all the themes that, like, it's like I don't feel like I'm saying anything new about the trajectory of what people should be focusing on than I was even a few months ago. It's just now that people care about actually implementing them. And I'm just like, I don't feel like I have anything new to contribute if I gave you a reading, you didn't follow my advice.
Unfortunately, here's the thing. So this comment, too many people are too complacent for change, is very true. But the problem is that all of the people that already were open to change are now open people who are feeling all of these different unknowns and everyone else's feelings and situations. And we're all like trying to stay sane because we already knew that there was a problem and now it's just worse. And so I almost feel like we're just catching up. Like, so as Emily says, I personally want to come out of this more connected and appreciative of the little things. I completely agree. Part of me, and I'm sorry if this sounds insensitive, especially to SI users, but part of me just is wanting to speed up everyone's, I guess, realization process. Like, can we all get on board to where we all care now? Or how long is that going to take?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I want to just speed up like the virus, but like I guess it's like I feel like I have some sort of clue on what a collective message or lesson could be from this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all of our responsibility to take that lesson and run with it if you want to like get out on the other end, kind of.
That's what I think too. And yeah, like I feel like this comes back down. Like I really agree with all of that. And that's something I was thinking. Like I'm like, oh, like I'm gonna roll with the punches. And I guess you could say that like when I say I'm better at cooking now, wow, I feel great. I feel like I want to emphasize that like for me, my path to like being able to do things for other people, like has been really entangled with my own ability to feel in my power. Like I have reassured like almost like I want to like about 70 to 80 people now via tarot readings. I've opened it up and was doing donation-based readings because I was like, maybe now my gift will actually be valued as not just something to be done like for fun. People are like, I actually legitimately need help. I have no more access to therapy. Not to say tarot is a substitute for therapy.
I mean, like that's the thing is like that, and I've been like afraid to even like want to offer more life coaching stuff or anything like that because I've been afraid of that. It looks like I might be capitalizing off of it, but the reality is this has been like my purpose for years. I've known that I want to offer even more self-help stuff, but the thing is that a lot of people don't want help or wisdom or advice unless they're in a place where they feel like they don't know where they're going and they feel like what they thought they knew didn't work anymore. And it kind of reminded me of, you've mentioned before something about how you've noticed that a lot of people in the tarot and spirituality world come from, I mean, might come from trauma, or they might come from, a broken experience that then leads to it. And it's like, I would hate to be, I would never want to use that. But I think, like, in fact, like that's even been my own resistance I have to get over, in the sense that I really do think that we all have to really focus on our purpose and what matters to us and what sort of life that we want to live. And this is just mine, and I hope that everyone does the same, you know?
Yeah. Like, I feel like, I guess to me, maybe as an ENFP, and I just feel really self-conscious and insensitive for speaking about like how so much of my self-development is kind of like self-focused. Because it's not that I'm like entirely ignoring like this like collective burden, but I feel like I have the
You're
most power.
focusing on what you can control more than me in a way, like at least with your FI.
Yeah, because what the minute I got better at cooking, I had more energy suddenly to work on all my projects, to get stuff launched, to actually like reach out to people and have confidence in my message and not worry about certain things. And it all came down to like I had already identified what needs to change about my life for me to step into my power. And honestly, something as simple as cooking was just an avenue through which me to have self-respect. And I guess with the tarot thing, it was like I go, okay, I can worry all day that looks like I'm capitalizing on it, but like, why am I so resistant to it looking like I'm capitalizing on it?
I
Because
mean, that's my own fear of putting myself out there.
yeah, because I'm just thinking like musical logical benefit is I'm not asking for a specific dollar price from people. People will pay whatever they
Well,
thought was valuable. And
thing, I'm afraid of taking myself fully seriously. Like almost every single one of my videos I have done, I never, it's like, what am I trying to say? I feel like I never want to try too hard. I like whenever it's natural. I like to give like 70% all the time or something. I don't know. Like I want to get really good at what I do, but then have it just flow freely.
yeah,
And I feel like whenever I'm like afraid of fully taking myself seriously and standing in like who I am and saying like, hey, here I am. Like I really am afraid of that.
yeah,
Even though it
I'm
might
like
seem like
I'm
I
like
do
pretty afraid of
that.
that too. And like, like I'm gonna admit that it's really triggering actually to like hear you like sharing about that. Not to say you shouldn't share that, but like, because those are things I've struggled with as well. So you're not alone in that sense of like, am I gonna look like I'm trying too hard? Like I've definitely asked myself that question a lot recently.
I mean,
But I
let's just
think
go or go ahead.
what motivated me is this idea that like, but the opportunity in case someone needs it and I'm too chicken to offer it to them just in case people do need this. I would much rather feel like a fool, but maybe help someone that like now is not the time
Same.
for me to feel like a fool.
I completely
Um,
agree. I completely agree. I just was gonna say, like, let's just say it, like we both know it, and anyone who's watching, like, this is very common for ENFPs and ENFJs to feel this way. But a lot of the reason why we feel that way, Crystal, is because we've been told our lives that we're too much. We've been told, who do you think you are? We've been told, shut up. We've been told, like, all this shit. And that's how people treat ENFs.
yeah,
Like,
like I literally, yeah, it's
that's
so true.
one of
It's
the
all this
main things we
baggage.
bond over.
Yeah, and like I guess to me when I'm all afraid of like looking privileged, I'm also like, yeah, maybe I am privileged in the sense that I had to go my whole life being made fun of for being weird and freaky, and now all those people who are making fun of me are Joseph style coming to me and asking for my help. So if there is a time for me to, I guess, actually step up and actually help people, then if it's going to be now, it's going to be now. It's basically like I'm like this is my time to actually feel of use. And if I feel of use, I've seen that other people feel of use throughout my life. When I feel empowered, I always give back. So
The
fuck
problem
the
is when
haters.
people don't use their privilege.
Hmm.
Like, we all want Jeff Bezos to use his privilege and donate some money. Like the problem is when you just take your privilege for granted and you don't do the best you can with what you have.
Yeah, like exactly. And I felt like, well, I can like, maybe feel self-conscious about being privileged, but I'm much more afraid of not using that privilege and, someone could really need me, right? Like it's like, yeah, and I don't know. I feel like I have just been a source of inspiration, stability. Like my mom was kind of worried about me, but I tried to be more open about like learning about cooking and like showing her these scallions I'm growing. And she was like, "Wow, this like just reassured me that this was her worst fear growing up." And that's what I was really internalizing at the beginning. It was like she was afraid that because I wasn't a censor or had TI, that I would literally never be of use in a crisis. That like if if the world ends and I have to fend for myself, being good at art is not going to get me anywhere. This was a message I internalized from a young child until now. And now she's like actually super surprised that I've actually been handling this emotionally really well,
So
and just completely did a 180. And I'm basically, you know what? I'll just be open that I literally like cheered to myself after off the phone with her, and she literally said the words of, "Oh, turns out I was wrong." I was like, "Fake as fucking told you so" to my childhood trauma. Not her specifically, but just that narrative that's been haunting me my whole life and held me back from so many things.
that just reminded me of, I think, a major theme here is that I don't know if this is actually true for all ENFJs and ENFPs, but I do think that there might be something there. There might be an association there. Is that you and I are handling this pretty fucking well compared to a lot of people that we know. Because I feel a responsibility to bring hope to people, and so do you.
Yeah, and
And
like
so that means that I process
yeah,
my shit early. And
I did too.
we are privileged, but the thing is that being a feeler doesn't mean that you're just emotional about everything. Like we understand emotions, and so when something happens that's emotional, like we actually know how to handle it. So here we are. It's like I don't actually think that ENFJs and ENFPs are the ones crying about this.
We're not. Like every
I think
ENF I know is having like they're like fucking trying to help.
if anything, it's like the STJs finally realizing. Now, no offense, STJs. If anything, it's the STJs finally realizing, like, oh wait, like I don't know what it is that they're realizing, but I feel like it is almost like awakening this sort of NF side to people.
I agree. Like I literally feel like I've never felt more popular and in demand, and it's because I feel so stable. Like I was actually going on a wine rant on Instagram about this, where I basically was talking about how I already felt chaotic leading up to this, and now I feel calm for the first time and I have to work on my shit. Like I had left my job as a journalist the year before and spent the entire year just crying about like not feeling good enough for society or in demand, and like trying to just figure out how to be okay with like not having achievements, like, you know, like to flank me and to like clothe me. And then now I'm just like, oh, none of that means anything because all those people I envied also don't have a job now or something. And like,
Yeah,
yeah, and like I guess I have felt a responsibility my entire life to bring hope to people. Because in a sense, learning to bring hope to myself felt like too greedy of an endeavor to just keep it in. So yeah, like I'm pretty good at, and also one important thing was I learned to honor my body a year before all of this. I was like,
I've been thinking
so
that I should honor my body a lot for like the past 6 months, but I haven't even really done that much.
yeah, dude, I am so
But
not
now I
afraid.
like kind of am.
Yeah, I'm like so not afraid of getting sick. I'm afraid more of like getting other people sick, which is why I have no problem not going outdoors.
Same, same.
Like I don't get stir crazy. I'm like I've never been severely sick in my life ever. Like if I get sick, I'll like, maybe just have a cough a little bit for like one day, like once a year. And so I was like, why did I get a vibe that like I am an asymptomatic carrier or something? And just in case I am, I'm
I
not
get the
fucking going
vibe I
outside.
am too.
Like I'm just
So
like I don't know what if I am, but I would rather not find out because I just have all
that's
these images.
exactly how I'm
Like
feeling.
I was just thinking like of all these like really sweet, cute, elderly people that I just see walking around, like immigrants. I've just been around like respect your elders my entire life, and I'm just like, dude, I owe it to my own self-respect to not go outside, because if I do something to someone, I will never be able to live with myself. And I don't have TI and FE necessarily, but it feels completely like, wow, I am so happy that it is an honor to honor my elders by just not going outside. Like it's such a different way of going about it than like an FETI user would. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, it brings me joy and excitement to have to be inside because I'm that much healthier. I don't have that risk. And
In this
like,
in this
yeah,
live stream video I was doing in my membership group thing today, I was kind of talking about this and I wasn't sure until I said it out loud, but I feel like FI is pretty like protective. I said something like FI likes to be protected and they like to protect. And I don't know if that's always true, but
I think that's true for both. I like to be protected because I like to protect. Like I've like literally like screamed at you like, why aren't you honoring your body? Blah 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 or something.
Well,
yeah, like
I want to comment on this comment really quick. Have you
how to handle emotions like a thinker, suppress, deny drugs, feel self-important about how much more logical you are than other people.
And then Nate says, I find it so hilariously ironic. The NFs, the ones who focus their entire psyche and life on observing people dynamics and prioritizing their values, to face a bias against us for being an NF.
Well, like, people don't want their fucking vegetables. That's what they don't want.
Well, like I think that like this is an emotional time. I mean, one of the most core like human emotions is like the fear of death, right? Like, and like the fear of your family dying and stuff. And even if you're a person, I'm curious, Taylor, how you're handling this. I actually, when I've been thinking about types in general, I've really felt for the ESTPs actually.
They were like, we've been warning you, bitches.
It's really hard for ESTPs because SE DOMs tend to just feel invincible about things, or just be like, hey, like you only live once, you can't really think about those things. And to suddenly have to be thinking about people who might die at any time, it's like,
see, it's funny because
I mean, as an ENFJ with the same functions, I kind of don't even want to think about it, even though I feel like I'm forced to have to think about it in that way.
Yeah, my dad, as an ISFP, has just spent all his energy worrying about me because he doesn't understand like how I deal with things, and he's worried that I'll get anxiety. But then he's like confused that I'm like totally fine and I've never been thriving more. And he's just like, what? But yeah, he actually like hasn't been really going stir crazy. He's just like, like it's like nice to like know that I can like work from home. He has like perspective on it. I don't know, but like other SPs I know are like fucking dying right now, so it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's really hard for SE to like want to focus on their body in that same way. Okay, so this is, I mean, Taylor says, I'm still working and being busy, but I've also been incarcerated, so lockdown's a piece of cake. So I think, honestly, the key with SE, correct me if I'm wrong, but like what I'm picking up from that is that SE, like, if you've like you're basing it off of your own experience,
yeah,
right?
If you've been,
if you've had bad experiences, then you know how to put it in perspective. I mean, I do think SE in general probably, you know, wants to keep busy.
So the key to SE is incarceration.
No.
Every SP that's been in jail is like, yeah, whatever. Like, just like us.
It's like, I think SP really wants freedom. And then if you've had any of your freedom taken away before, like you can appreciate the little freedom you have. You know?
That's totally true. Yeah, but I've been like telling people to like thank their body and like actually research the science behind like how your body fights little infections all the time. Even like cutting my finger a little bit, having a paper cut, my body cells try to help. So I've just been trying to research that and be like, oh, it's so sweet how you're here for me, even though I am a piece of shit to you sometimes. What an honor to go to sleep early for you. Yeah, like I'm really like getting like overly hyped about it, but like this overly hyped attitude is like my way of like being able to like genuinely work up the energy to do these things with like joy. And that's what's sustainable to me. Because if I can like find a weird twisted way to get a kick out of staying indoors and feel like I'm saving the world, I'm so noble or some shit, it genuinely sticks. Like I genuinely have only left the house because like beyond like walking outside, like maybe like my block to take a quick walk, I've only left the house for supplies or logistics like 3 times or something. Like it's like in the last month. And like my roommates were like, oh, that's so weird because you're the one that can never stay home and you have been complaining less than all of us and cooking and just being like, oh hey, like just like chill in your room. I'm like, yeah, like I honestly can't remember my life before this and I don't really care.
It seems like similar to the respect your elders thing and like wanting to think about your body, and you know, that seems very SI to me. Like you want to, you know, protect your body or whatever. So I just want to say, Taylor says we need to do shit. SE, we can't wait out something we have no ability to affect directly. Also, very easily super uncomfortable for ESTPs, even though I'm well positioned. So I thought of something about my own SE I want to share is that so I don't typically buy beer at my house because I mean I sometimes have alcohol at home, but it's kind of hit or miss. It's more for a special occasion or like I'll go out every so often and just get one for social events. But I've found myself wanting to have a beer or two every night, just sort of being like, "Woo, it's quarantine, making the most of it, whatever." And
Yeah,
like
I like
also, I keep buying food from local businesses for like an act of service in order to like keep them in business. So I
yeah.
don't know if like an ESTP would relate to that, but like I mean, I don't know. So I guess I feel like I the other day I was like, well, I guess drinking more alcohol is really not great for my immune system. What was I thinking? But I
That's
think that
so interesting that you have to, like, remind yourself because I feel the minute it hits me, I'll be like, "Whoops, don't know if I'm gonna be healthy or well, so time to go to sleep." Like, I just am like, "Bye," like, you know? Like, I don't even know if literally it's, like, 1 drop
yeah,
of alcohol
see,
is actually gonna, like yeah.
oh goodness,
Altruistic too.
I've been eating so much altruistic takeout
Oh my god, that's so
for
funny.
community.
Yeah, like, for me, well, I just probably have to leave in a sec, but what I wanted to say for the altruistic takeout thing is that, like,
Probably the most beta thing I've ever.
my justification is I've been freaking eating from you guys for, like, I've been eating out more than, like, a lot of people, so you guys can take all the money I gave you before as, like, back payment for me not eating out with you now. So that's, like, how I
See,
look at
that's
it.
the thing is that I don't what am I saying? I don't I always feel guilty every time I eat out because I think I like to cook and I don't really have that much expendable income, and so why would I? But I just it's been sort of a fun thing. Like, me and my girlfriend drove to Andy's Ice Cream because we were like, "Hey, you can go to Andy's because you can never go inside anyway." So
I mean, we
so
don't have Andes in California, so I don't remember what that tastes like anymore.
we just do things like that, or even like last weekend we ordered brunch to us and they like have like this mimosa, like make your own mimosa kit thing. We're just like trying to, and then a very NFJ way to handle it is order brunch and then talk about how marketing is changing and like not even think about like your body or anything.
Yeah, I feel like, I feel like to me, the minute I heard about the survivors thing, even like back then, I was like, well, if that comes here, the only thing that can save me now is my body. So I better start sleeping right now. So I've trained myself more or less to try at least to go to bed early because I've noticed that like even if I get like 8 hours of sleep and I went to bed at like 2, I like can't get up in the morning at all.
Did
So like
you know
I've
or go ahead.
I think I just like adjusted to like the intuitive climate almost of like now is the time to like stockpile. And I talked about this in my wine rant where I was like, I just like really started to value emotional stockpiling. Like in a way, I've been preparing for this kind of thing my whole life emotionally because that ability to stay calm during
Yeah, and
crisis
I agree.
people is what mobilizes the collective. And I guess maybe an NF thing in general, because like I definitely think that like because I'm really good at dealing with my emotions and my limiting beliefs and expanding my awareness now because other people have to do that in order to like existentially cope. We're primed to help them. In fact, I want to say that like my ENFJ friend Kat asked me, right, actually, maybe like less than a month before all this, she was like, "Are you afraid of dying?" And was talking about her kind of feelings about death. And I was actually like, no, I'm actually not. Because I feel like if I died tomorrow, I
I'm
have
not
lived.
either.
Yeah, I'm
I'm like
like,
so apathetic about life. Like
yeah,
I know
well,
it might seem like I'm not that way, but I don't really care. It's
yeah.
I'm gonna make the most of it now.
I feel
I
like
just
if
don't
I,
have a
yeah,
strong self survival like mechanism.
yeah. I feel like it's like, if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't have any regrets necessarily. Because yeah, it'd be nice to like, have be a published writer and like have a family and all these things. But what I would be thinking about is, did I live every day mostly authentic and like I was doing everything I could to improve and maximize and better the people around me? Absolutely. I have like every single moment I am doing anything for myself, which is cooking. I'm thinking about how this is going to bear fruit. for other people.
So
Like I've
I
always
just
thought about this.
on this though, really quick, Crystal, is that this I think is an SE response to not realizing that I'm NE engaging with you.
So yeah, oh my god, it is NE because I'm just like blah 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 blah
Because
blah.
everything
Like,
that we're saying to each other is completely connected in an NE way.
yeah, wait. So Taylor,
Can you explain that?
Taylor, well, I actually don't know how to say it because Taylor and Tucker are both ESTP. So I actually think they're both probably watching me just ramble, and you're kind of also rambling. I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I think that like it's like
I don't
anyways,
know if you can explain that.
rather than playing tennis with each other, well, I feel like it's like we're not bouncing one specific ball. We are bouncing multiple different balls because we're trying to flesh out multiple different walls. So we're actually trying to expand the tennis court. It's like we're trying to like knock everything down so it like creates its own thing. So we're actually trying to like not like have necessarily a pointed discussion, but put as many points as possible in one discussion to illustrate how two different types react to the same thing. So I guess the like connecting point here is the fact that it's uncertainty and a pandemic as the common denominator, but we're not going very deep into like one discussion point, which I'm sure annoys actually Tucker and Taylor because I feel like it's kind of like my energy just kind of dominates these kind of conversations where like my tangents are something you're at the mercy of because you kind of have to like be jerked in this way.
I think that it's kind of a typical live stream thing from what I've seen, but it's actually why I don't live stream. It's why I'm so much more comfortable when you and I have like a topic that we are tackling.
Yeah,
And
it's funny because I love live streaming.
I actually have a hard time in the sense that we didn't really cover what the title of this video is, and now you have to go. Like, I've been trying to like rein myself back in the sense that I want to go with your tangents, but there are times in like the whole hour that we've been talking where it's like I can tell that we're on a certain conversation too long. And I don't know. And I guess to me, the point of a live stream, or at least from what we discussed and what your intention is with this, is that you kind of wanted to just go off the rails.
Yeah, because I guess like to me, because I'm thinking about the intention of the audience is like, if they're here to really learn or are they here to just have some company? Because I guess like I'm looking at this from a macro view of like, what do people really go to videos of just you for versus videos of me interacting with you? It seems more that like it's just fascinating to watch us interact, period, is what I've picked up. So I guess like to me, I'm like, if I'm going to be on anything, I'm just going to be completely the person who's like off the rails and like rattling around because all these sub tangents to me, I'm like planting inspiration in small spurts to people rather than like giving them something deeply rooted to go into. They can have other content for that, I guess.
I feel like I've gotten better at, I guess, using NE with you, or at least trying to, at least like before, like when we first became friends, I don't think that I really even realized I like you talk fast and you have a lot to say. I don't think I ever really saw how those ideas were generated.
Oh my god, yes, that's a story. Literally, Taylor told me that he thought NE was just mental illness, period. And like, you know, I'm not like necessarily offended by that now because I understand, but it's just like, well, shit, that sucks then because a lot of people are probably just freaked out, you know, like in general.
Well, it is very confusing from an SE perspective.
Yeah, like so if you don't know functions.
ESTP or ESFP, if they aren't really aware of what the NE is that you're doing, or like for you, it's like you're literally creating this massive web of like these parallel.
Yeah, like the whole point of this live stream is to mind map because I guess to me, my theory, I don't think NE is always superior to NI, but to me, I think in times of crisis, like because I'm adjusting so well, I'm trying to sprinkle out that type of like stimulate your brain. Like every tarot reading I've done is like get creative about how you're going to make money, get creative about how you're going to get into grad school, get creative, get creative, get creative. And anxiety is kind of the wellspring of creativity. To me, I think all that energy can be upcycled. So I guess that's me trying to illustrate that, like, if everyone comes in the live stream, which is very inundated by NE, where else are they going to get more NE for them to like have a little bit of hope to like, you know, carry forth? Because
I have a question about that, but when do you have to go though?
Any minute now. I wanted to acknowledge this last question last
Okay, I
comment
just
from
want to say though too really quick, and then I don't know if I have time for a question, but another thing that has been my SE going off the rails is that I really want to dye my hair purple and get a tattoo like now. I mean, I already have a tattoo, but I want like another.
more tattoos.
And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that like, oh, actually, I do want to say something on this is that my FE is fine. Like, okay, I'm an extrovert, but my FE is not like sad that I can't see more people because I think as an intuitive being able to text or call someone, I can still exchange just as many ideas. I don't feel like I need to see you. I mean, yeah, we talk all the time and we don't even live in the same place. But my SE actually is like I feel like being confined in a space. It's like I need nature, I need beer and food, and I need to dye my hair purple, and I need to exercise, and I need to make music, and I think that is actually it's weird.
Like,
It's a lot of energy.
God, I feel like it's like so weird of me to be like, I don't miss any of those things because, bad SE. But at the same time, I think it's like, to me, I'm like, well, in the long run, people will appreciate those things more now and they'll try to make this world better.
True,
So,
and I suck at appreciating this.
like I'm just like, yeah, so you know what? I was already, and going back to, I guess I'll end this on the whole death thing. I'm like, I already was living and milking the fuck out of every moment and trying to be grateful for it and trying to make the most out of it. So if I die tomorrow, like, my job is done. I lived a life that was worth living. So for me, I'm like, if everyone else can have some of that same energy of appreciating the shit that we took for granted, then I'll just have an easier time existing. But for now, I'm all for living in the cocoon of us trying to get to our final form in essence as a society, not thinking about the individuals, but like that. So I guess to me, I'm like, all right, whoever is afraid of death and that they didn't do enough, start doing enough today. I guess that's my really blunt way of thinking of it that
Oh
probably
yeah,
crosses over
absolutely.
a lot. But like, I guess I'm like, I'm not afraid of death. I'm afraid of the people being left behind and not understanding death is an opportunity. So for me, I'm always trying to help people go through their ego death more. Anyways, I gotta go, but it was great talking to you.
Okay.
And yeah. I mean, I feel like it's interesting that like I'm like live streaming and me just talking and having people interact. It just feels like hanging out almost. So
Yeah.
I guess, does every hangout have to have a point? Maybe not.
Well, like, I mean, we can always just do live streams where it's just like, hello.
That's true.
But I guess my NI is like, ah, but we didn't even really digest the J versus T thing.
Yeah, we
So
did.
I just have to say, so next video, Taylor gives Megan a tattoo. Oh yeah, two things I was gonna
No
say.
social distancing.
One, I want to get a tattoo of a quarter rest as a symbol for me to rest, which I'm learning. And by God, if I don't learn how to rest after this quarantine.
Yeah, are you gonna learn your lesson, Megan? Because I just feel like I'm
So
not
I
learning.
actually did yoga twice yesterday and the day before, and did breath work in the morning and exercised in the morning. So, and I went to bed at a decent time. Oh, sorry, this is just so
Okay.
random, so
I'm
random.
gonna go. I'm gonna go though, but
This is to tell you is that did you know that Kansas City started a Facebook group that is just called like quarantine beer chugs, and people are on there just going live and chugging beer.
oh, Taylor better be in that group.
Yeah. But anyway,
Okay, let's chug beer sometime later. LOL.
sorry, I thought you had. Okay. Well, thank you guys for watching. Didn't realize that she was going to be leaving so quickly. If you guys are interested in being typed by Crystal and I, uh, comment below. Oh my God, it has gotten so hot in here. It is like 80 degrees in my apartment now because I did not have the air on. So that is just another time of just me not really recognizing, as I was saying earlier, the sequential sensoriness, sensory changes. But anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you guys for being here. Crystal really likes the idea of live streaming more. So hopefully we will do this more often. And if there's any topics you'd like us to talk about, let me know. And yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.